Hello and welcome to TSL Talk. The state game's been played and lost, and we're back in a full round, and we're joined by Damian McIver from the ABC. Thanks for coming in, mate.
No worries, mate.
Have to send out an apology to all the Brett Stubbs fans. He's got a following like One Direction, I believe, but he's on a sabbatical of about 5 weeks, so we won't see him for a little while, so you'll have to put up with myself, and hopefully you might join us for a few more weeks, mate.
I'd love to, mate. Big shoes.
We'll get right into it, mate. I suppose, another round of TSL and probably the results as expected.
Yeah, it was pretty predictable, wasn't it? I guess the one game I was most interested in was Lauderdale-Glenorchy, and you were there yesterday as well, and I didn't expect Lauderdale to do it as easily as what they did. They were very impressive 55-point winners, and problems for Glenorchy because they've been talking, the story they've been selling us is that they're improving. There wasn't a lot of sign of improvement yesterday.
No, it was fairly comprehensive, and the view that I got of it is Glenorchy are probably where Lauderdale were, I reckon, 2-3 years ago. You know, a lot of young kids, very light framed, and Lauderdale just pushing off the ball and really did win that contested footy.
Yeah, and it's so, I guess, surprising in some ways to see Lauderdale doing that, having watched them a few years ago, because that, you're right, that was what happened. Lauderdale were light, they were kids, and they got pushed off the footy, but now they're bossing teams around, and they did that to Glenorchy yesterday. From Glenorchy's point of view, they'll be disappointed because their results up until that game had been improving. They, 7 points to Burnie at West Park was a good result for them, but they took a step backwards yesterday, and that's probably going to happen with a young team. So interesting to see where they go from here. Hopefully they can regroup and hit back next week.
Do you think we're starting to see the trend with the league now in terms of Clarence and Burnie well on top? Maybe Lauderdale is the third best side. I know Launceston haven't been playing their best footy, but is it now those three, maybe Lonnie and then a gap?
I still think Lonnie are in that top three. I think once they get their injury problems sorted, they'll be back up there. Lauderdale have played Clarence and were beaten pretty comfortably after starting the match well. I think they've still got a bit of a way to go before they catch up. It's probably just in class, I reckon, now for them. They've certainly got a good structure, and Cassidy out forward has straightened them up, but they probably just don't bat as deep as what Clarence does at the moment, and certainly Burnie.
And the other game yesterday saw Clarence just continue on its merry way, still with the issues for Hobart, and they're not really pushing their case for the state licence on the field anyway, are they?
No, it's tough. I mean, 97-point loss and no one's surprised. You just knew going into that game that Hobart were up against it, and Clarence are the sort of club that really do, when they come up against the weaker teams, they tend to put them away pretty severely, and Mitch Williamson kicking 11 goals, that's a great effort. He's well in front now in the goal kicking. And
Clarence did have a few out as well. I think, Brendan Savage missing key posts, Thurles is out for a couple of weeks, so it wasn't like that was their best side either, so I don't know whether that's more a reflection of maybe the depth at Clarence or just probably how bad Hobart are travelling.
Yeah, it's a good point, and look, it must be demoralising for Hobart at the moment because we're not even halfway through the year, and they've already been on the receiving end of a few hidings, and it's difficult to see that getting any better anytime soon.
And the other game down here on Saturday was North Hobart versus Devonport, and we'll throw to a clip from Devonport coach Glen Lutwyche. He was very disappointed in a game that the Magpies probably should have won. They were leading for the majority of the game and got overrun, so here's what he had to say.
Definitely one that got away. We should have won that. We should have won. And I don't know. But as I said to him at the end, we play 3 quarters every week. Is it more disappointing this week because it was the last quarter where we bloody just waited for someone else, and then you lose the game, whereas last week against Lauderdale we were good for 3 quarters and beat them for 3 quarters except one and got beat by 20 points. Told them they need to get the tape and look at the last quarter, and they need to then do some self-analysis of where them individually, how many kicks they got, how many blocks they got, because that's the only way they'll improve is to self-analyse it. Because I can tell them, but it's not going to make any difference.
Very disappointed man there, mate. I guess Devonport, from what I could gather, seems to be improving, and North Hobart is thereabouts. What did you take from that match?
Yeah, look, I agree, Devonport have improved. I saw them play against Clarence and they got beaten by, I think it was 88 points, which on the face of it doesn't seem like they've improved at all, but I thought they moved the ball a lot better, and they actually were starting to get some football on their own terms for small patches of that game. And North Hobart are struggling, we know that. They're not the team that we thought they were. They've had injury problems, they've had players be unavailable, players out of form. They should still be beating Devonport, I think, at home by more than 15 points, and from all reports, we're very lucky to get away with that win. So Devonport, I bumped into Glen Lutwyche and David Cash and a few of the coaching staff at Campbelltown on Saturday, and they really felt that was a game that had got away. They haven't won a game yet this year, but I think they will before the season's gone.
Yeah, I think they come back down in a couple of weeks to play Hobart, and that'll probably definitely be for the wooden spoon, I would have thought. So, and the last two games of the round were both up north. We saw Launceston just get the job done, as they seem to be doing at the moment. You know, as you said, not at their best, missing a heap of players, but North Launceston's another funny one. They just can't seem to crack those top sides when they get a chance, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they're competing with the Glenorchies and South Launceston, and, well, Lauderdale's probably a step above them, but that fifth spot that's still seemingly wide open, not a bad effort to get within 16 points of Launceston, but they need more than that. They've sort of pushed some good teams, and they've lost some games that we thought they'd win, and they need to turn that around because, yeah, it's going to be very tight to get that fifth spot.
Certainly is, and Bernie did the job pretty easy over South Launceston to wrap up the round. So, well, Damian, thanks very much for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, hope you can join us in the coming weeks, and don't forget, for all your TSL news and reviews, get your copy of the Mercury or head to the Mercury online.